Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and finally I am able to show you my must-haves in the craft room. Now, these are items that I just have to have, so we're not really looking at stamps. There'll be a few dies. Not really going to show you how they work. I'm just going to explain to you why I use them, why I like them, and why they're just my must-haves in the craft room. So we're going to hit all these different areas. So first up, paper. So when it comes to the paper, of course, I do like the Neenah Solar Crest Smooth 80 pound. Now, I use this for my alcohol coloring. It's really all I use it for, to be very honest with you. I don't use it for my card bases or anything else. Literally, just my alcohol coloring. I have used other papers that were meant for alcohol. I find this does work the best, and I find it cheapest on Amazon. This paper here, it is by Mohawk. It is a wonderful 110 pound cover weight. And again, even with the Neenah, you want to make sure that you have a cover weight, not a text weight. So even though this says smooth, and it is very smooth, it is not for alcohol marker coloring. But this is perfect for my card bases. I can get 250 sheets, very reasonable, from the Paper Mill store, and everything will be linked below. My watercolor paper. If you've seen my previous videos, I am a true die-hard fan of the Canson XL watercolor paper. It is my go-to. I do also enjoy the Arteza 32 count pad watercolor paper as well. I was introduced that recently by Arteza. For my Bristol paper, I like the Canson XL. I really do like the Canson papers. I think they're very reasonable when I get them through Dick Blick. I also find that they are reasonable through the holidays where you can get them for $5 a pad. Oh yes, I stock up. My husband worries. Absolutely, because I come in with reams. I just buy a ton. I am a color pencil person. That is my coloring medium of choice. So I do have a lot of the colored pencil paper. Now, when it comes to that colored pencil paper, I do go to Strathmore. So I have their white, which is 100 pound, but my favorite are these three: the toned blue, the toned tan, and the toned gray. Mixed media version. Now I have the colored paper as well, but this mixed media paper is thick. It is like thick cardstock, which is wonderful. Because now when I die cut through it, and I'll make sure I'll link to a video where I did use it so you could see it, but when you die cut, it is so substantial. You don't have to back it onto another piece of paper like I do the white or the tone tan and tone gray in the lighter weight paper. Now for colored pencils, I also do use those two as well, the Bristol or the Canson XL watercolor. I used those in the past, and they were always my favorite. Until I found that mixed media paper. Whee! It's my go-to. Scissors. Now, again, my favorite are the long 9.5 shears by Tim Holtz, Tonic Studios. They are my go-to. They are the ones that I grab. One thing that you want to make sure is when you start using a pair of scissors for paper, that's what they're meant for. You cannot go between paper and thread and ribbon. If you're using them, these three here I use for paper. Nothing else. I'm also going to use that other pair, the other Tonic Studios pair, for paper as well. By just using paper, they will be sharp. Now my cutter bees, I love my cutter bees. They are great for fussy cutting. So are the Fiskars self-retracting. Less on your hands if you're doing a lot of fussy cutting. I try to avoid it. And I just got the 2 black handle ones for Christmas. Santa was very good to me. Yay! Yes. Now those blue Fiskars right there, they are for my ribbons. They are for my twine. my baker's twine, and so forth. They do not, nor can they cut paper. That's why sometimes if you saw in some of my videos, I went to cut a piece of string with my cutter bees, it won't cut it. It's only nail sharpened for paper. So if you're going to go between those two, you should have two separate pairs of scissors. That is my opinion. God, I can't stress that enough. That's just what works for me. Those are my favorite. So for my paper trimmers, I am a fan of this Tonic Studios Guillotine by Tim Holtz. Yes, it's Tim Holtz. I know. He's my favorite. Yay! But I do love it. It's self-sharpening. It can cut through multiple layers. Not too many. I don't want to break it. And it can cut through thick cardstock. Now, it can't make my card bases that I use. And I'll show you that in a moment. My second favorite paper trimmer that must be close by is my 9-inch. It's got my wire gauge. And when I'm cutting sentiments and I want to have strips, this helps me. It helps me. It does not make me successful, but it helps me to have a straight cut for the sentiment. Now, there is another trimmer that I have. It is huge. It's got a rotary blade on it. It is about 25 inches long and 18 inches wide. That is what I use to cut my card bases. I cut my card bases to be 4 1/4 by 11, and I score them at 5 1/2. I will always work 9 out of 10 on a top folding standard size card base. So I have that set aside. Tape set doesn't get used for anything else. Let's look at my liquid adhesives. So art glitter glue, my #1 adhesive. It is not wise to get this shipped when it's wintertime or when it's cold. It will react to that temperature, meaning it almost separates. I can't explain it. But it is my favorite. Now, my second favorite when making in card making is my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. But I also do use these as well. I am a liquid adhesive person. I think you get a stronger bond. I do like the two Tombos, the Aqua. I use that to adhere my fabric to my chipboard. The Tombow Mono Multi, I like that because you can make it repositional. You can make it, just use it as a regular liquid adhesive like I do my Nuvo and my art glitter glue. And then, of course, the Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue. I like that too. I think it's great. You can have a fine point and it works just fine. These little gadgets, I have to admit, there was a seller on Etsy who contacted me, and the shop is Make It by Marco, and they wanted me to try these out. Now, this was, I'm going to say, approximately a month ago. Now, you usually can't see these on my videos because I have them pushed off to the side. But let me tell you what, when I've got a lot of glues going, because some of the stuff that I'm making for my shop or my customers, I've got it going. These are wonderful. They're plastic. It's a 3D printer. Look, it can hold my large art glitter glue bottle. These things are wonderful. They are easy to clean up if your glue should leak out of the top. And you can see they fit multiple bottle shapes. So these are something, if you're interested, I will definitely have them linked below. It is a beautiful shop, and the owner, Rebecca, is wonderful to deal with. More on those later. For the next up, my dry adhesives. So, again, tape runners. My favorite, I do like the scrapbook.com, the dot tape runner. There is no refills, and I do also like the Ultinu. Again, no refills. There's also another one that I use, but amazingly, I'm out of it, surprisingly enough. And that's my Tonic Studios. I do like the tacky tape runner or whatever that's called. I like those as well. I am a dot runner person rather than a solid. I've got to have my 3M Scotch. Now, what do I use that mainly for? My shaker cards. This is the best double-sided tape to work with for shaker cards, or I use my Stampin' Up! Strips as well. My 2-inch double-sided film tape by Uline. I am in love with this stuff. I use this to tape down my watercolor panels my fun foam to adhere that to the back of my cards. This stuff is wonderfully strong, but unforgiving. So if you make a mistake in placement, it's there. There is no ripping that up. So just caution. What I also get from Uline are my double-sided foam squares. This is how they come in a huge roll, and I just cut some strips off so that I have some foam squares sitting by me at all times, and I just grab them and I'm able to use them. Now Uline has them in two sizes, 1 by 32 and 1/16. So I think I usually get the 1/16 when it comes to my foam squares. Let's talk about some pens and pencils. I have a jar just filled with white colored pencils. Multiple white colored pencils. It's either Prismacolor or the Faber-Castell Polychroma. I think I have 10 of each. Yes, it's just a jar that I have. I also have my blenders by Prismacolor. So these three items, they are what I use to blend my colored pencils. Unless I'm using baby oil. I may use Gamsol, very rarely. So I have tons of those. My Memento black marker, I use that to go around my edges when I'm fussy cutting right up to the line so that I can hide the cardstock. That's the pen that I use. I have a couple of those by me. My Faber-Castell Pitt black pen. This is India ink, so this is very much, it won't move. It just won't move. So I love this pen. It's archival. So you cannot smudge it. I mean, you can as soon as you put it down. Trust me. I know. Ask me. Yeah, been there, done that. But it is my favorite pen to doodle with. I like the microns, but the Faber-Castell size small is my favorite. My 3 gel pens, white, black glaze, and stardust. They are the ones that I grab for. The black is for eyes on my critters and my people when I stamp to make them stand out. My white, of course, is just that if I can't use my white colored pencil. And then the stardust just adds some glitter. And then, of course, a shimmer pen, whether that's my Spectrum Noir or my Nuvo. I must have my clear shimmer pen. Wow, say that 10 times fast. Inks. So these are my go-to inks. Now this is for normal, almost every card. These are coming out. So Distress Oxides, they have got to be my favorite. 9 out of 10, that's what I'm using for my backgrounds. Or anything else. They are just an ink that I have to have, and yes, I have them all. Thank goodness. I love the Gina K white pigment ink. I know there's others out there. Gina K's is just my favorite. I just like the way that it goes on. I like the way that it looks. VersaFine, I cannot have enough of this. This gives me the best black image, in my opinion. And my Memento black is for when I do any alcohol ink coloring. That is my go-to. It's what I'm used to be very honest. Versamark, same thing. That is what I use for all of my embossing. Now, I bet you're saying, wait a minute, we're missing one. Oh my goodness. Oh, but wait. Oh, yes. The grand finale, my vintage photo. I would be lost without my vintage photo. I love this ink, and it's not the Distress ink. This is the regular Distress ink. I have a mini blender dedicated to that, and whenever I'm on a whim, it comes out. And it comes out for any color that I use. Blues, pinks, purples, you name it, it's there. So blending tools. I do like to blend. Okay, so I've tried a lot of tools. Now, these are the tools that are my favorite, and they're unique to what I'm doing. So when the Nuvo blending brushes, I am in love with these dual M blending brushes, and I use these for my inks. Only my inks, not my oxides. And you can see as you use them, they get better. You can tell the bristles actually get more dense, they shorten. Because, again, yeah, that's vintage photo. Sorry. Now, the one on the right, I do have dedicated to my white pigment. because I do the same thing with my white pigment that I do with my vintage photo. So it's one of those two. Now, for my distress oxides, I do like to use a brush as well. I don't want to mix that with my inks. So I have a separate set just of the major colors. There's 10 that I have and I use the distress blenders for those. I may transfer over into the Nuvo blending brushes only because I love the size. But I do love those distress blending brushes. They are really nice and very versatile. Of course, you can't be without your mini blending tool. Now, come on. These are phenomenal. I use these a lot with my distress oxides as well when I want to put a lot of color down fast. I am a finger dauber. Now, I have a finger dauber for every oxide set. And then I actually used the distress inks for another set of finger daubers that I have just for my ink colors. So I do have a full set for the oxides, and I have another set based off of the distress. But for the distress inks, I can use those for any of my inks. Those I will interchange. I don't have brush or blending sets for each individual ink set that I have. That would be very obsessive. But surprisingly not me. You never know. Tools. Let's look at the tools and the gadgets that I've got to have. So yes, gotta have the T-ruler. Now, I have to admit though, you very rarely see me use this, but I do use it. Here are these awesome containers again. Now, there's a reason why I'm bringing these in again, because it's a gadget. That this is where it should be, but I wanted to show it to you what it looks like with the glue bottles. But there is something also that they make, and they had sent to me. Again, Make It by Marco. It's an Etsy shop. Again, it'll be linked. This is a case for our chamois. It's got a lot of holes. Now, this is what I used to use. I know, it's cute. I have no idea where I got this. I forget if it was a gift, so please don't ask. I hated showing this. It's really cute. It's a salt container. Probably Amazon. But the problem is I can't get my hand in there. It's cute. It's awesome. But it is difficult to get my hand in there because of the rings. I know. But if my chamois just lays in here, that cover is plastic. It's a flexible plastic, not a hard plastic. And all I have to do is just lay that on the top. It's breathing around the side and the bottom because, of course, it's not going to be dripping wet when we put it in the container. Just saying so that, you know, people are saying, well, it's going to leak out the bottom. Okay. The chamois is not dripping. We make it damp. But just by putting it in there, it's still going to breathe, so we're not going to get that smell. I did not get the smell with the other container either. Again, I just can't get my hand in there sometimes. And then it goes flying across the room. So those containers, again, awesome colors. They are great. Cannot recommend them highly enough. What else can I say? You know, I was one of those people that had other heat tools and they were good. I'm not going to say that they weren't, but I burned them up very quickly. They would die because they have safety devices on them. Thank goodness. And I'm not saying this doesn't, but again, the way that I'm using it, I would just go through it. There's nothing like the Hero Arts Wagner heat gun for your embossing purposes. Anti-static tool. Now, I like this one because I finally got it fixed. I was able to finally let the powder flow through. Sometimes it flows just a little bit too much, but that's okay. I banged it on the table, I unscrewed the top, and I pushed a pin through it, and I got the clog out. So that's what's happening if you're having that problem. Just unscrew it, put a pin through it, you got a clog going on in there. Moisture, it's going to happen. My sand eraser. I can't be without my sand eraser. I get ink all over the place, my fingers, everywhere but where I want it. And then some. Yeah, no pun intended there. It just happens. Craft picks. Now, I have many craft picks. My favorite, I will say, is the Spellbinders, only because I've got a pick tool at the end, and then I've got the brush at the other side to clean out my intricate dies. I have another one because I have a brayer on the other side. I do still love the Tonic Studios. Yes, I just stabbed myself there in case you noticed that. I still do love the Tonic Studios. Tim Holtz craft pick. Yes, it's Tim Holtz. Yes. Let's deal. Yes. But they are my go-tos. I am in love with the Tonic paper creaser. Bone folder, whatever you want to call it. I call it a paper creaser. I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. I love the metal edge. I get what everybody else is saying about the Teflon. I can't comment on it. What I can say is with that paper creaser, I do not get the shininess when I crease down the top of my folding card. I just can't comment anymore. I love that one. It is my favorite. I won't go to the other one. Tweezers, as I'm cleaning these off. You can tell I use them a lot. I love these tweezers. These are great. This is my third hand. A lot of times when I'm tying bows around cards, that is what I use, and I use it for the sentiment dies when I glue them multiple layers. I know this is no longer available. I absolutely get it, but this is my favorite stamp positioner. Yes, it's Tim Holtz. I know you're all saying that's because it's Tim Holtz. Yeah, I know. But I do. I absolutely love it. I have others. I had the We Are Memories when it first came out. I didn't like that one at all. I had the one that is no more because it was an exact replica of the one we're talking about. I have both of those. But the Tim Holtz one, I have both of them, and they are my favorites. Maybe in time I'll get the Misty. I don't know. This is my score tool. Now, this is very close to the Martha Stewart miniature one that is no longer available either. Mine, I still have it, but I cracked the bottom corner, so this is why I got another one. I like that scoreboard because it's a continuous every eighth of a line. The Score Pal has different variants widths, and I didn't like that, so that's why I went with that one. Tapes. I love my Post-it tape, my little tiny 1-inch tape. I use it to hold my dies down. I use it to mask. I use it to tape things down. I do love the purple tape, and it took me, I'm going to be honest, it took me a while to get to this purple tape. I get it. There's a lot there. I'm going to see how long this lasts. But, again, crafters, budgets, we've got to look at that. I'm not saying it's not a wonderful product, but sometimes we do have to look at the price, and that's why I kind of held off so long for that. But I will say, I'm loving it. Yes, of course. Gina, you did it again. So I'm probably sucked in on that one too. My wax pencils. I almost forgot about my wax pencils. Now, my wax pencils look a lot like my white colored pencils, which I make sure they are in a different jar on my table. I got many jars. You'll see it in the tour. It's coming. So my wax pencils are just that. These are used in nail salons to add gems to somebody's fingernails. I use them to put my sequins on. How did I find out about these? From one of Vicky's, I'm going to just say Vicky P, because I cannot say her last name. I would just chop it up horribly. Oh my goodness. Papiano. We're not even going to try it. She started using it, and she was talking about them, and she was right. So I figured, you know what? I checked it out. They're on Amazon. I got a whole box of 10. They were like 75 cents a piece. So very awesome. Love them. So I'll never have to buy another one when I bought the box of 10. So I think that's great. These are wonderful. I use my handheld sharpeners to sharpen them. They should not put them in a mechanical one or an electronic one because it will break the leads inside the barrel. It'll just crack them. Ask me how I know. Yep, these are the things that I have learned throughout. But they are great and very easy to use, and they pick up the gems, they pick up sequins, I can pick up little pieces of paper as well. So they handle everything. These are the only dies that I'm going to talk about. These are the dies that I grab for all the time. Of course, my favorite, there's my Wonky by My Favorite Things. The ones to the left are my stitch rectangles by Lawn Fawn. I also do like the Simon Says double stitch where they're stitching on both sides. I do like those as well. And then of course my penny black. Gotta love my penny black vintage frame or antique frame. They're close second of my favorite. Now I would pull in my die machine, but it's just too big. I also now have, not only do I have the Spellbinders Platinum 6, for Christmas, yes, Santa was very good to me. I have the Platinum, the original one, and I am in love with it. So that is my die machine of choice. I've got to have my microfiber claws. Now what I did was I have a grommet machine, so I put a grommet on one corner, and then I got some, from the dollar store, some shower hooks, and I hang these off to the side of my table. So now I always have them. So I just make sure that stays hanging on the table. I can pull that off and just grab for my towels. They can go through the washer, not a problem. It's not an issue. Of course, my iridescent sequins. These are my go-to sequins. If I can't decide on a sequin for my card, these are it. And if I want a sequin on it, they're the ones that I go to. 9 out of 10, if I even do a shaker, I'm going to fill up my shakers with those. It's a touchy thing with me. My hemp cord. That's all this is. This is just hemp cord. I get it from Joann's and I buy, or Michael's, yes. And it's in the jewelry department and I buy rolls of it just to have it on stock. My fun foam. I can't be without my fun foam, and I don't care what color it is. I get what's on sale. So if the value pack is all the multiple colors, I'm good. Nobody sees it unless you turn the card to the side. They're going to do the same thing when you make a shaker card. They're going to turn it to the side. See how we let that go? Let it go. So these here are just my must-haves in the craft room. I must have these items 9 out of 10. A lot, 90% of these items are going to be made, are going to be part, or are going to be used to make my cards. Okay, so we went through those things that have to be near me. I must have a stock on, sometimes an obsessive stock of, when it comes to those items. Again, I didn't want to get into this is how they work, this is what they do. I wanted to show you these are the things that I like, these are why, or the reasons why I use them, and what I have found with them, why I don't go with something that's more popular or something like that. I hope that makes sense. But I hope this did answer some of your questions, but by all means, if you have more questions, please list those down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you liked this video. I hope it gave you some guidance on what you're looking for. Or if you did have any questions, maybe I already answered them, but hit that thumbs up and please don't forget to subscribe. It's going to be an interesting 2019. And remember what I said, we're going to learn more about this. We're going to let it go. We're going to enjoy this. We're going to have fun. All the products that I've shown here, I'm going to try to link. I believe I'll be able to get most of them, but I will have them linked down below if you want to get them for yourself or maybe a gift for somebody. I hope you are having a great day. I hope you are having fun. I hope you're creating in your craft room, but always remember what's most important to me, everyone. Always be creative.